Guys, welcome to the International Souls Podcast. I'm your host, Eryck. Today, I'm sitting down with one of my closest friends. His name is Alex Vilera. We've met back in Tulum in 2022, and our friendship just kept on growing. He's someone who is inspiring me every single day to become a better version of myself, but also through his action in entrepreneurship. He built and co-founded this company called Loco Luxury, which is an incredible company on rental luxury property management up in Tulum with his co-founder Nico and Melinda. The company is now managing up to $50 million of real estate, all the best and premium luxury villas in Tulum, and he's now building a whole ecosystem around it. He has a lot of valuable insight to share on entrepreneurship, from his first year making $200,000 to his second year $600,000, and now third year 3 million and going for 7 million on his fourth year. So just constantly evolving. And I want to share with you how he was able to leave the good for the great, took that leap of faith, moved to Tulum, started from scratch, and now finding success in his specific niche and growing. And he's actually giving back a lot now to the community, hiring locals, and just overall incredible human. So guys, welcome Alex Vilera to the show. Welcome to the International Souls Podcast. Here, we have valuable conversations with leading experts in their field. I'm your host, Eryck, and each week I sit down with people who dare to dream bigger, act braver, and build lives that inspire. You'll hear real stories, lessons learned, and expert insight from across industries and cultures, each one driven by purpose. This show is about leaving the good for the great, taking a leap of faith. Here we go. Alex, my brother, welcome to the International Souls Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling great. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Yeah, Alex is one of the few people in the world I consider as my brother, so it's such a pleasure to connect. He's someone who inspires me a lot every single day by his action and by the way he lives his life. I mean, we always share a lot of texts and voice notes and constantly uplifting each other, and I absolutely love that this our relationship. I'm very excited to have you on. So let's get right into it. So tell us a bit more who you are, Alex. Like maybe where you're from, your age, what are you up to these days? Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So my name's Alex, originally from Montreal, born and raised, very Montreal kind of upbringing. So Collège Notre Dame, Université de Montréal, played football. And then when I was 23, I left to travel the world to work for hotels. And now I live in Tulum. I've been living here for 3.5 years. That's where we met. 32 years old, have 2 dogs, and loving life living down in Mexico. And it's been a blessing.
Incredible. So you're currently in Tulum right now?
Yes, sir. I actually come into Montreal for the summer because,
Okay.
as everybody knows, Montreal in the summer is amazing, and I haven't had the opportunity to go travel to Montreal for an extended period of time since we founded the company, and so I'm really excited to go. But I live full time in Mexico. Yeah.
Okay, great. So as you know, this podcast is it's really about sharing that specific leap of faith, that moment where you decided to leave your comfort zone and to seek something that was just greater without necessarily knowing what it was, or maybe you knew. But let's go into that part of your journey. So do you remember specifically when was that time in your life when you decided to take that big leap of faith and to seek something special to you?
I do. Yeah. It was one big leap of faith composed of three small leap of faiths.
Okay.
So the first one was basically my current business partner. He's the one that had the idea to find a luxury rental, like a luxury villa in Tulum.
Okay.
Um, and I was looking for a new opportunity. I had just finished working for the all-inclusive resorts where I was at. And so I was trying to reinvent myself, figure something out for the future. And he reached out to me, invited me to go to lunch. And I played American football with him previously. So like we knew each other, but we weren't that close. And he just said, "Hey, we should go grab lunch. I have something I want to talk to you about." I was like, "Okay, sure, let's do it." It was the first time like go grab lunch to talk about business. Like you see that in a movie, but like when it happens in real life for the first time, you're like, okay. And so we met, we had lunch, and he kind of pitched me on the idea to join him. He was looking for a 50-50 partner because he had too much work and he never wanted to question how much the other person would be working.
Hmm.
And so he wanted to offer me 50-50. And it was basically managing apartment buildings in Canada. And also, he had a project in Tulum that was like something in the works, but that was not really what we talked about when we first started working together.
Okay.
And so we started working together. And basically, actually, the first leap of faith, the minute we had that conversation, I said yes. He told me about the opportunity, and I said, you know what? I'm in. Let's do it.
So
And he said,
why did
wait.
you said yes? What was that, on the spot yes moment?
Um, I live my life for a good story. And
I
if
know
and
this, but let's talk about that. Yeah.
and so we were out to lunch, and he's looking for a 50-50 partner, and he's successful and doing something interesting, and it just seemed like a great opportunity. He seemed great as a person, and our
Okay.
values align. And so I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's try. And he's the one that told me, like, wait. Like, I'll send you, you know, the description of what you're going to be doing, what the partnership might look like, and like take your time before saying yes or no because it's a big decision.
Mm,
And I was like, okay, sure. And so I get home, and when I get home, I see his email, and as soon as I see the email, I'm like, okay, this is real. It's serious.
legit. Yeah.
Yeah. And I opened the email, and on the first line, it said, like in bold and underlined, let's get rich by making other people more rich. And the
Okay.
minute I saw that, I was like, I'm in. And I'd sent him the email right away. I'm in. Um, and that's kind of how it started. That was the first leap of faith,
Okay.
was saying yes to the opportunity.
And did you had any background in business? Because with the way you brought up the business meeting, it felt like it was kind of new for you to get into
Super.
entrepreneurship. Okay.
I had zero experience in entrepreneurship at all. I worked for all inclusive resorts, and I had never had like a coffee meeting or a business meeting. Never really had any of that. So like when I went to that meeting with him, it was surreal for me. Just the fact that we were having a kind of coffee meeting to talk about business. It was like a scene out of a movie for me.
Okay. So you were
And so
living in Montreal back then. Was it? It seems like it was kind of an instant decision for you. Was it still uncomfortable making that leap of faith? Did you had to leave some type of comfort behind, or you felt like you were just ready for that next opportunity and just went for it?
in this particular situation, I was desperately looking for an opportunity where I would be able to realize my potential. I
Okay.
I'm not somebody. I've never wanted to work a 9 to 5.
Okay.
I don't want to have like I don't want to be an employee. So I was trying to figure out what the next chapter in my life was going to be like, and I think it was just a perfect timing. I was looking for any opportunity. I was trying to create my own, and then this one just kind of falls on my lap, and I was like, well, yeah, it seems like it's coming from a place that's greater than me, so I need to this is what I should be doing, and I
Okay.
and I jumped in.
So what happened? So you decide to leave Montreal. So you just sold most of your belongings, or you
This was
left?
before, so I didn't even know I was going to Tulum. Like there was no business in
Ah,
Tulum,
that's
so
right. Okay.
I was helping him in Montreal, and so
Okay.
we worked together 2 weeks. And he's like,
Okay.
"Oh, Alex, by the way, I'm going to Tulum in a few days to get the keys for a property that we just invested in there. Like, you have background in hospitality. You want to come with me and help me out? And I was like, yeah, why not? Let's do it. And so I went with him, and the objective was to set up the Airbnb and then come back to Montreal and then manage it kind of like passive income.
Okay.
But you've lived in Tulum, and for anybody who knows the Airbnb business, like, there is no passive income. That's not really how it works. And so we set up the lockbox. We kind of made it as best as we could. We opened our Airbnb account. Like, that's where we started. And then our first guests arrived a week after that, after we came back to Montreal. And I'll remember, this is where the big leap of faith comes. I'll remember this for the rest of my life. It was December 26th, Boxing Day. I was having dinner, like Christmas dinner, but with some friends on that night. And I receive a call from Nick, my business partner. And basically the first guests, because the house was new, because it was in Tulum, because of all this, there were a ton of issues. So the AC wasn't working. The Wi-Fi cut out and wasn't working. There were other issues. And I remember Nico calls me in a panic. Oh, there's all these things that are happening. I don't know what to do. They're going to leave a bad review. It's our first guest, our first Airbnb reservation.
Wow.
And like this whole panic. And for me, that was the perfect opportunity to show him that I was a 50-50 partner, and that I was not just somebody that he was bringing into a project. And so I told him, okay, well, you pay for my flight. I'll leave tomorrow morning and I'll go to Tulum and I'll fix everything. And he was like, yeah, sure, do it. And so I booked my flight that same night. And at 8 a.m. the next day, I was at the airport on a flight to Tulum. Wow. And I booked my Airbnb from the plane.
Never been to Tulum before.
Never. Well, I had been with him a week before, but like aside from that, like never to work. I didn't know anybody in Tulum. I only knew it from a week from before.
Wow.
And so that was the second leap of faith was, showing him how dedicated I was to this partnership, and that his faith in bringing me in was like he put his faith in the right person.
So going back, let's say we go back to that moment, and because you're still in business with Nick, right? And the business is growing and thriving at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say that specific moment of you showing up and wanted to, in a way, prove that you're valuable of this opportunity? You think that was, looking back, was that like probably like a good or best decision you did business-wise from the beginning? You think that kind of changed your relationship with Nick and your relationship with the business from the start?
Changed my life. It changed my, like, that if I had not done that, there would not be a Loco Luxury. It might have been an investment property in Tulum, and then maybe from there, nothing else in Tulum. Like, it's the fact that I came here. Also, my relationship with Nico, as of that moment, was solidified a bit more. It's always a work in progress to like any partnership. But that moment changed everything, because then I came here, and then a week later, I canceled my flight back to Montreal. And that was the third leap of faith. Basically, I called my mom and we had a conversation, and my mom is extremely supportive, and like, she's one of the reasons Loco Luxury exists. I called her.
Wow.
And I told her, like, should I come back to Montreal or should I stay here? And she was like, well, what is your gut telling you? I told her, I think there's an opportunity in Tulum, but like, I have my apartment. I had just bought a car 3 weeks before. Literally just bought a car. And she was like, yeah, well, if you see the opportunity, like, we'll help you with your apartment here. We'll help you sell your car. You stay there and you do what you need to do. And if she had not have said that, I'm not sure that I would have stayed. And I canceled my flight home and I decided to move to Tulum.
Wow. So you mentioned something in that story about your gut feeling. This is a subject that really fascinates me, and we've talked about intuition quite a lot. I feel like there's a fine line between impulsive and intuition. Like and just from that meeting you took, the first meeting you took with Nick, and then that second call and then the call on the 27th. It's not like you didn't really hesitate. You just kind of right away went for it. I'm curious to know let's talk about intuition a little bit and how it plays a role in your life as an entrepreneur to not always make rational decision, but just go with your gut feeling, just like your mom kind of suggested for you to do. So is your intuition always played a big role in your life, or was it something that you had to trust and build and start listening to? No.
That's a great question. I think it's a bit of both. So I think every I would say I think everyone has intuition and a gut feeling, but listening like listening to that gut feeling and actioning what it's telling you to do or what you're feeling, I think that that's something that you have to work on because you need to build trust with yourself so that when
Mm,
you hear this voice, you know that that's the voice you should be listening to because at any given time, you have multiple different voices pulling you in different directions,
mm,
but not all of those have your best interest at heart. And that's where I would say, like you were talking about
mm,
intuition versus impulsiveness.
yeah.
I think typically impulsiveness is a very easy decision.
Mm,
So if I don't think a gut feeling is always an easy decision, but you feel it. I think that's like been the major difference for me because a lot of gut feelings that I've had have actually been very hard decisions to take and then implement. Whereas like impulsiveness is typically like, I want this, I want it now. And then that's typically positive. Well, it
mm.
feels easy and positive, although it might not be a positive decision.
So if you talked about trusting, creating confidence through, building a relationship with intuition, do you have any advice do you have any advice that you're actually applying throughout the past years to build that trust? Is there any type of action that you do on a daily basis, a weekly basis, intentionally to build that trust with that intuition?
Yes, actually, yes. I
You do?
and I feel very, very strongly about this because
Yeah.
it's changed my life. And I think it's keeping promises you make to yourself.
Mm,
And I think the way to do that is by starting like if somebody's never done it before, you can start as small as you want and as small as you feel you can deliver on. And then once you commit to yourself, it's non-negotiable. And then as that goes, you start trusting yourself that when you make a decision or when you listen to yourself, you will follow through with that decision.
mm. I see. So was that always part of you, or it came along through your travel in hospitality, or I'm just curious, like where did that knowledge and wisdom came from?
I was very lucky enough I'm very passionate about psychology,
Okay.
and I was very lucky enough to find books that kind of speak to that. And to be completely honest, stumbled upon Jordan Peterson like
Okay.
6 years ago, I think, something
Okay.
like that. And it was in a moment where I was looking to improve my life. And so a lot of the messages that he was saying, I would watch, like I would not watch the political stuff that he posted and all that. He
Okay.
posted all of his lessons and lectures in university. He posted them all online. And so I would watch hours and hours and hours of him giving lectures about psychology, philosophy, religion, and like then I read his book, and his book is basically how to improve your life. And the way it's written and the message that it kind of gets through kind of stuck through my heart like at a very good moment. I think there are certain books you read at certain moments in your life that are like incredible, and then you could read that same book 4 years later and it doesn't have the same impact. Like books and words find you at the right time, and all of that. Like his book started me on a journey of wanting to improve my life.
I see. So a lot of self-improvement, mentorship, and seeking something greater for yourself through others people experiences, and so basically also empowering yourself with education, if that's kind of what I'm getting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Amazing. Yeah, I totally agree with that. If when you make those leap of faith, Alex, there's, I don't know for you, bro, but for me the gray zones are something I do struggle with. And however, that's most of the time that's where the growth and the nugget, like just everything happens before, like right after the takeoff and before the landing. And I'm curious to know, how did you handle the challenges or navigated through those gray zones? Let's say from the moment you left for Tulum, and from where you are when you started to feel that okay, Local Luxury was taken off, probably took a bit of time, finding your feet in Tulum, the contacts, the networks, and establishing as you are established today and successful. How do you navigate in that gray zone? And if you have any advice to share, I would love to. I would really love to hear that.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot, you and I. And I think my strategy, and I'm not saying it's a good one, um, but what I've been trying to do is I'm extremist. Like I'm obsessive, and I'm like black or white. And the gray zone has been hard, but basically when I'm here, if I want to find the gray zone, I have a hard time going like this, leaving here and coming to the gray zone. So what I've done is I'll go here.
You'll
I'll
skip the gray
jump.
zone. Okay.
I'll do the complete 180 and do this long enough so that I trust myself to go from here back towards the middle.
So two step forward and then you do
So
one
so
back,
let's
kind
say
of. Or?
drinking. Let's say
Yeah.
drinking alcohol. I used to
Okay.
drink a lot of alcohol. I would party every night. Instead of trying to slowly stop drinking alcohol and then develop a better relationship with it, I quit for a year,
Okay.
zero alcohol. And then once I started trusting myself, then I started incorporating it back slowly and slowly to as where now I'll have a drink once a month, I'll have a glass of wine with some friends, or when it's a special occasion, I might cheers or something like that. But
Yeah.
I've not gone back to this
Hmm.
part.
Interesting. So what about, like, let's say in business, if you want to go from here to a different level, or a different direction, or hit the goals, would you apply that strategy in business, or that's a whole different way of approaching it?
For me, it's the same in business. As you know, if you want to be successful in business, everyone says that like there's no balance. And I would argue that for the first while you figure out how to pull bigger levers, the only way you can do it is by repetition. So the only way to do it for me actually is I did the same thing. I just went all in business, and that was the only thing I think about, I dream about, and I cut everything else out. And it was not healthy. And I'm not saying it's healthy, like in terms of the grand scheme of my life, doing that is not healthy. But in the
Hmm.
scheme of business, that is what was able to get me to go faster because I was
Hmm.
not looking for any kind of balance. I was just, okay, this is what I'm doing now. Any other distraction doesn't exist. And now 3 years down the line, now I can kind of incorporate in the same way, I incorporate a little bit more traveling, a little bit more this and a little bit more that, because I know what I need to do for business to continue on the path that I am. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. I mean, I do. I mean, I've been around you for a little bit, so and we had those conversations quite a lot. If you would, let's say you would do it all over again today, would you use that strategy of blocking everything around and just full on focusing on business with the wisdom that you've gained? And also, there's a trade off, like what you just mentioned. There's a trade off for it. Either it's your relationship, probably your health, your mental health, physical health. Uh, would you go about it this way? Do you think that's kind of the best best way to get that business to that level you want?
If it's the best way, I have no idea. It's the way that worked for me. And if I had to do it all over again, I would 100% do it all over again. The only thing is that I would tell myself, like, it'll all work out in your favor.
Mm,
Because when you're doing it for the first time, you have no idea if that sacrifice will give you the results that you're thinking. That's the leap of faith. You don't know if you're going to be successful, although you're sacrificing everything else. So I would have just told younger me, like, wait for in a couple years, you'll be happy with what you did.
mm. I want to talk a little bit about partnerships, collaboration, relationships, and for me, it's something that is extremely important in life. And I want to have your take, Alex, on business. So, two-part question. The first one: do you remember who either helped you or guided you, or was there in those specific moments? We don't need to name names. If you want to, you're more than welcome. But were there people that were there along the journey for you to just make you keep going on? You mentioned your mother on the call, Nico, um, or was it just you head down grinding? Like, was there any relationship at the beginning that really propulsed you forward?
Um, in terms of like business relationship, I think, all of the all of our clients and making sure we do a good job kind of thing, like all of that helped in terms of every single person you meet when you're doing business is like you represent your business. So every connection, every client, every guest, it all has an impact on the growth and on where you're trying to go. So in terms of that, like a ton of people had an impact. But if
Mm,
you're referring to like more specifically, if one or a few people helped us break through,
yeah.
um, I would say Nico and I for the first year was mostly us,
Okay.
and then after a year we were both looking for somebody to come in and help us with where we lack some of the skill sets that we have less of, which is like organization, structure, kind of like an architect that can see how things should connect and how things should work together, processes. And then we brought in somebody to the team. Her name is Melinda. She's now our third partner,
Okay.
um, and that allowed Nico and I to do more of what we're good at, and she could do more of what she was good at. And that's like now it's a three-person partnership, and I wouldn't have it any other way, to be honest.
Mm,
It's the secret sauce of what local luxury is, to be honest.
wow. So you do. So the second part question was that you obviously believe in the power of collaborating or partnership, and I guess finding unique individual that has, would you say, similar skill set or different skill set to make sure that everything just works well and yeah.
I would say I deeply, deeply believe in collaboration.
Okay.
I deeply believe in relationships. I think relationships are everything. Like it really is everything. And like collaboration, if you want to move fast, move alone. If you want to move far, move as a group. Um, and the other question was, and you said, what was that?
I wanted to know in terms of choosing the right partners to to
Yes.
join, and would how do you, because from one, every person that adds to the group change the whole dynamic, changes everything. So how do
Yeah.
you make sure you're choosing the right person, and if you have any like advice on partnering, because this is I think finding the right partner can make or break a business, a marriage, like a friendship, like it just can make it or break it. So how do you choose the right person?
That's a good question, and I think you're right. I think it might be single-handedly the biggest decision a company makes or a person makes in their life with their partner,
Mm,
romantic or business. And I would say for us, it's been find somebody with similar values but with a different set of skills.
okay, so the values is the foundation that glues everything that is kind of non-negotiable. You know, we don't even need to talk about it. This is where we
Yeah.
stand, and then from there, the skill sets are different, right?
Yeah, because then I know if I can trust this person and I know the values are the same, then I know that if they're whatever they're doing and I'm not checking on it, well, I know it's in line with what I would want to be doing and vice versa. And so we can just move much faster because we all have the same, like we all represent the same thing.
Mm. I have a few more questions about Leap of Fate, and then I want to go a little, like, as much as you want in terms of local luxury, because I love the business and it's growing and it's expanding. It's giving back to the community as well. I mean, you have so many projects. But so let's talk about this. When you arrived in Tulum 3 years ago, you said, and the man that you are today, what type of shift happened for your identity or your belief system? If you can go back to 3 years to today, what was like the biggest identity shift and belief that you're just not that person anymore, or if there's any?
Yeah. It was funny because when I was younger, I kept wondering like, why do people choose to follow the rules and why do people choose to do this and to do that? Like, why not just do whatever you want? And then that's how I thought. And then I realized parents don't choose to become boring or to follow the rules or to do that. It's they need to change the way they act because of the responsibility they now have.
Hmm.
And when you have no responsibilities, it's fine to act like a child. But when you start having responsibilities, like you have to change. You have to adapt to responsibilities. And I felt that at the beginning of Local Luxury, at some point, like you get that initial phase where you're like, oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm so cool. Look at me. I have my own business. And then at one point, you realize people rely on me. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have clients that rely on me. I have people that their livelihood depends on me paying them. And like,
Yeah, payroll. Yeah.
I cannot just leave. I cannot just get out of this. Like this is a thing now. And that's a big weight on your shoulders. And if you don't set yourself straight, that weight will crush you. And that's how I was feeling. I was waking like you know me now, but I'm not I don't have much anxiety. I'm not a very stressed person. And at the beginning, before I had got my life in order, but I had all of these responsibilities from Local Luxury, I was very anxious because I was not setting myself up for success. And I knew that deep down. And that's what created that kind of anxiety feeling.
Mm.
And that's when the biggest change happened was when I said, okay, I need to change everything. I need to become the person that can bring this business to where it needs to go and not be crushed under that responsibility. And that's kind of at a similar moment when everything changed and when I stopped drinking, stopped partying, stopped doing all of these things. Um, that's kind of like the whip. You know, there's the carrot and there's the whip.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whip. And the carrot was also a feeling that for the first time in my life, I was handed, there was a highway that was placed in front of me. There's no ceiling, there's nobody else, there's a highway in front of you. And the universe told me, now the only thing you need to do is run however far you want to run. But it's on you now. And when I got presented that, and like, you finally realize that you are in control of, like, you have the opportunity to realize your potential. Like, oh my God, I have potential for real. And all I need to do is continue going down this path as fast as I want to, or as much as I want to. And when I realized that, I was like, I have no choice but to do it. Like, it would be what better thing in my life can I do than to work towards achieving my potential? And so it was those two things that, like, one of them was pulling me up, and the other one, the fear of being crushed under the responsibility, was kind of like pulling me out of that.
So huge shift then. I feel like
It
the
was a
identity
huge,
is yeah.
yeah. I would not consider myself, I'm not the same person I was 4 years ago at all.
That's incredible. So for you, entrepreneurship definitely brought the best out of you. And I'm not saying it was an easy journey, or it was probably so many highs and lows and trial and error. But I also I do believe that you need to shift your belief and identity in order to become that person that you wish to become, that better person, and to be able to hold a company, hold people, like hold yourself accountable at a certain standard. To be able to be that person, that leader. And when you started, you said entrepreneurship, because I think entrepreneurship is this word and the whole concept, the idea of it is getting thrown around, entrepreneurship, a little bit, and it's sexy and it's like it's cool and all that stuff. What was and let's go back, like go to the real. What was the biggest challenges you faced from the beginning? Let's say when you arrive in Tulum as an entrepreneur, like you had an idea in mind and then the reality hit. What was one of those biggest challenges you faced from the beginning, that if someone wants to start a business, they can be aware that, hey, it's not always going to go your way, and you have to be ready to adjust and pivot and yeah.
I would say, in terms of like personally, it's kind of interesting because I journal,
Okay.
and so I'm able to, like, I was able to like reread a lot of what I've wrote in the past years, and I've spoken about this to you, but we were actually talking about it earlier in the podcast in terms of everything comes at a cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I sacrificed everything to make sure that this business was successful. That includes time with friends, that includes losing friendships, that includes working on holidays, not being with my family, everything. And the biggest thing for me was, and the biggest recurring kind of theme when I diaried about it, was loneliness. Because it's a lot of people, I'm not on the same path as a lot of people. So first of all, I don't see myself talking about this with everyone, because I remember one of my close friends started his business before I started mine. And that was the only thing he wanted to talk about. And I remember not being an entrepreneur, and I was like, bro, stop talking about your business. Like, there are other things in life, and I couldn't get it. And it was almost annoying to me that it was like only that he wanted to talk about. And now I'm like 10 times worse than him. That's and so I get it. I get that that's the only thing he wants to talk about. And that's also the people that I want to be around. That's who that's what I envision for the future. And so the path is the path of entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And I'm not saying it is for everyone. It might just be for me because, you know, those were the tools that I had at my disposal to be able to bring it to where I wanted to bring it, was to cut everything out and to focus on it 100%. And I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but I did. And I think that was the hardest part in terms of personally. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of like the business, it's like 99% of the time you have to be resolving shit and issues. Like, it's not like, oh, closing deals and I'm on the beach and, oh, flying to here and doing that. It's like most of the time it's just finding solutions to problems that are on a day-to-day. So it's problem, 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 problem. And you need to get used to that being your life, and you need to be okay with that. And that kind of, you can't let it affect you. You know, that just, it's par for the course.
Wow, let's unpack a little bit here. So, because I'm listening. No, I mean it was. I think it was beautiful to have a perspective of personal and business, because it's still as much as you're dedicating your life and energy to that business, especially at the beginning and even now, you still have your personal life. And because I'm hearing you at the beginning of this podcast, you mentioned how relationship is probably the most important thing for you, or one of the most. And then for you to sacrifice that part and to feel that loneliness, and we had this conversation, I know it must have been really hard for you. And I think it's important to share more light on that side of, yes, you will get lonely and you won't have much time or energy to do small talk and to, like, you want to talk about your business, what you're doing now. And I totally get that. So I think it's important to see that, yeah, it's not just closing deal, making money and flying all over the world. There's a lot of work, a lot of personal growth through it, but also the business part, just a lot of solving problems. And it's not that sexy, but I guess it's just so rewarding, it's just so rewarding at the end. And Alex, I mean, I really appreciate you sharing the leap of faith, the courage you took, the bold move and actions, and share actual applicable advices to myself and to this audience. For those who doesn't know about the business, because we haven't talked much about it, let's deep dive. Let's dive a little more into that space. So let's just start. What's Loco Luxury? What you guys are about? What's the brand about? What's the mission?
So I would say the brand is about reimagining how luxury group travel in general, reimagining luxury group travel. So we represent a portfolio of large luxury villas, mansions, and haciendas in Tulum right now. Most of them are now between 8 and 12 bedrooms. And we represent a portfolio of over $50 million worth of real estate. Okay. And the biggest thing for me is I come from all inclusive. And so I understand the comfort. I understand the feeling taken care of and having that full kind of package. And I really love that of all inclusives. But the thing I did not like of all inclusives, if first of all, there's no privacy. So you're in a resort with thousands of other people.
Yeah.
Second of all, you never get to really experience the culture. You can be in an all-inclusive in Mexico, in Dominican Republic, or you can be in an all-inclusive in Cuba. you don't really go see where you're at. You're in the all inclusive,
Yeah.
and that was something that I didn't particularly like. Um, and so for those two things, when we started with Local Luxury, that was something that I was very keen on implementing and on doing with Local Luxury. So basically, bridging the gap between an Airbnb, where you get a lockbox, a check-in guide, and you're left on your own, and an all-inclusive resort where it's taken care of, everything is taken care of, but you don't have the possibility to kind of explore the destination and have that privacy. So what we're trying to do and what we're doing with Local Luxury in Tulum is the villa is the equivalent of your room in the resort, and the city is the resort. And we facilitate people exploring the city, people living adventures, people going out and doing all of these things, but with the comfort and the security and the ease that you have when you're in an all inclusive. That's what we're trying to do here.
Okay. If I remember, on social media, if you're comfortable with that, like, can we talk numbers a little bit, or
Sure.
yeah? So at the beginning, you mentioned, at the beginning, I think it was last year, you started on your social media, on Instagram, to promote this whole lifestyle and entrepreneurship, which was really interesting. But also, you had a goal of reaching 150,000 per month of sales or profit. Was it profit?
It was 200K a month in
200K, 200K
yeah in commission for Local Luxury, like
in commission for Loco.
yeah our income, not the total booking amount.
Okay, so let's just talk numbers a little bit. So you guys been in business for 4 years, three and a
Three
half,
3 years and 3 months. Yeah, 3 years
three
and four
years and three
months.
months. Okay, 3 years and 4 months. Can we have like a just a timeline in terms of progress of the growth of the business since the moment you guys arrive? If you want to share a commission, or like just sell year one, year two, year three, and then I have a part two question about that of what you think made it grow at this rate. Was it something specific? Was it marketing, branding? Was it partnership? So let's just start with the question number one. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, let's talk numbers.
Um, so I would have for year one. So basically, year one we started with one house, right? We started that first house. Within the first 4 months, the neighbors asked. It was a 3 bedroom house. Sorry, I'll specify. It was one three
Yeah, let's
bedroom
specify.
house.
Yeah. Okay.
And then a few months later, the neighbors saw what we were doing. So we started managing three of the neighbors and ours for a total of 4 3 bedroom villas. That was basically year one.
Wow. Okay.
Um, and then in year two, we got like one 5 bedroom villa that I remember, like I saw the renders on social media, and I messaged Nico and I was like, oh my God, we have to get this house. It'll be like the nicest house in Tulum. And then again, I have no idea how this happened. Nico was in Montreal on a yacht with some of his friends, and the neighbor yacht, the owner of that yacht was the owner of that house that was being built.
Come on.
You can't write this, you can't make it up.
No.
And Nico jumped off of his yacht into the water and then just went onto the other yacht to introduce himself to the owner of the house. And finally, we wound up managing that house. And so where it really changed was year two in November.
So year one, can we just talk about
Yeah,
year one numbers? Is that okay with you? Like just like
I
yearly sales, or if you don't know, it's
yearly
fine. But like,
sales. Yeah, yearly sales. I would say those three houses. Yeah, those year one maybe we did like in total sales.
sales, not
We
commission, just sales.
Yeah, in total sales we must have done like maybe 300K US.
Okay. Year one, 300K, managing three villas. You said four
Managing
villas,
four and then
four.
getting the fifth one like later on in that year.
and year one, we got five villa, which the last one was like doesn't really count much in that 300,000
Yeah.
because it was at the end.
I
Okay,
would say 200K actually, because like we got some throughout the year. If we would have had the five for that whole year, it would have been 3K, 30,
okay,
300K. But seeing
yeah,
as we like onboarded some, I would
yeah.
say we might have done 200 sales.
Okay, so year one, local luxury starts in business, like from scratch, 200K, and now year two, you said you're in November. So what
Yeah.
happens?
In November, we like I had met a gentleman that had two amazing houses, but he had other management company. And like for 6 months, I would message him once a week, once every 2 weeks, just to catch up, talk. Like I found him very interesting as a person. Now we're very close friends. Um, and then in November, he finally like reached out to me. He was like, "Hey, Alex, you know what? I'm not happy with my management. I would like to switch to you guys." And I was like, "Oh my God, amazing!" Both of his houses are incredible. And within 1 month of that, he introduced me to another owner, and that owner had the largest mansion in Tulum, like a 10-bedroom house
Oh,
in Tulum. And that guy also decided that he wanted to switch to us. So within like 3 months, we got four of the nicest houses in Tulum.
so it took almost a year and a half to get five houses, and then in 3 months, one contact that you've been following up and following up, and just kind of feeding that relationship, and then boom, that person,
Changed everything.
everything changed. Yeah, wow.
One contact and one
Yeah.
relationship. Like in my mind, as of that moment when we signed those four houses, that's when Loco Luxury became Loco
Okay,
Luxury.
I see.
Like it had the name before, but that's when it really like that's when we stepped into who we knew we already were.
Hmm.
Um, that year, I would say we sold because we took them later. I would say we sold maybe for maybe 600K.
Okay, so quite a jump. Year two, triple, and did Melinda, your third partner, was on board in that year?
Yeah, she was on board. She came on board like I think almost exactly 1 year after we started, something like that.
Okay, so she was there for year two. So you go from, so you double the amount of villas, but also the villas are exponentially bigger, right? Like almost double the size, triple the revenue, well, the sales,
Yeah,
and then you go in year three, and I feel like that year, what happened? That's
yeah. That year, that was last year,
yeah.
um, and I would say last year we. I'll have to check with Nico, but I think we might have sold. We might have sold for like three or 3.5 million US.
Yeah.
That's because everything changed as of then. As of those four houses, because we created like the brand kind of got solidified. Well, then
Mm-hmm.
opportunities as of there were a ton of opportunities that came our way, and we had to start saying no 95% of the
Mm,
time to people.
really?
Um, yeah, and then is when we started really realize like really honing in on our niche, which was large luxury properties, and started saying no to people only, 6 bedrooms and above, only a certain type of property,
Mm,
only with this. And we started becoming much more picky on who we wanted to work with. And that year we did, yeah, we did way more.
wow.
And then this year, I think we're
Huge.
online to do like six or seven.
Incredible. Man. Because for those who doesn't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alex, I mean the Tulum rental market is so aggressive. It's there's so many rental property out there. There's a lot of company who are there before you guys, and to be able to expand and also build that identity of premium and saying no, and starting to say no to client, I believe that's very powerful. And for someone who is just starting their journey into that specific market, and they want to become a property rental management. I know you guys do more than that specific transaction. It's a whole experience. But let's just start from that beginning. What type of what type of like, how can someone get the foot in the door? How can someone gain experience, real experience, through this type of field? What do you say is to be in action? What do you say is to collaborate? Like, like, I want to start. Where do I start?
Yeah, I would say it depends on where in the world you are. Like Canada, I think is very different than Tulum. But let's say specifically for Mexico, what
Yeah.
I would, if I were to do it again with like, I had nothing and I were to start again, what I would do is I would tell somebody that has a house, like, hey, I'm new. I don't know that much yet. Pay me half of what you would pay someone else and know that I will be the hardest working person you've ever hired and I will figure it out. And then from there, you need to learn everything under the face of the sun that you can to help you provide value for the owner.
Hmm.
That's how I would do it.
And interesting. So proving your value at a low risk for the other person, pretty much. So low
Exactly.
risk, high reward. Yeah. And you think there's any skill sets or skills or mindset that you think or essential, but they're often overlooked to become or to be an entrepreneurship, that people are just, I don't need that, but it's super critical to, yeah, to have success.
I think that a lot of people, first of all, I think action over everything.
Okay.
That's me personally. Like, I read a quote once that I fell in love with was, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of whatever you're doing, then
Yeah.
you're waiting too long.
Mm.
And so do it. Do it before you have the website. Do it before you have the branding. Do it before you've tweaked the this and the that. But start doing it and then figure it out while you start. That's the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And the second thing I would say is that this has been for me specifically, but I refuse to believe the world is a certain way. And I believe that I can change reality or whatever to suit what I need in the moment. So, you know, to give you an example, I'm currently starting a company with somebody else, and he was going on vacation for a week, but we really wanted to go visit a house. And we sent a message to visit the house, and the gentleman answered, "Oh, well, the house is not ready. I'm not so sure. Maybe you can come on Thursday." But the guy was going on vacation. And he was like, "Okay, Alex, like maybe when I come back from vacation." He's like, "No, message the guy. Just tell him, no, we want to go today. Like, ask him, like, let's see if we can make this thing happen today, even if it's not perfect, but let's push for what we want. And let's see if we can make happen what would be ideal for us." And he was like, "Okay." And he messaged him. He's like, "Look, it's fine, even if it's not ready. We really want to go today. It's very important. I leave on vacation, but it would be super impactful." And the guy was like, "Oh, okay. I moved this around, and yeah, come over and we'll make it work." And for me, that's a huge lesson.
Mm.
Like, try for the thing that you need. Because if you don't ask, you won't get it.
Mm. That's super powerful. So without, because the way you're explaining it is you can be your own, like, you're the only one who is blocking you from having what you got or receiving what you want by not even asking it. So to just put it out there. And so what's your relationship with, like, getting no's? Would you, and I kind of know this answer, but if you want to share, because you probably receive many no's before starting to get yeses. How do you how do you go along with, like, rejection and getting, just saying no over and again, but to just keep continue and to not take it personal. How do you have any either stories about that or advice on rejection?
Yeah, for me, every no is a lesson. Like every no, there's a reason the person said no. And so instead of letting it affect your ego or letting it affect you personally, every time you receive a no, figure out or try to think, okay, what was the reason behind this no? And don't come up with like some bullshit answer of like, well, this, like blaming it on them. What did
Mm,
I do that caused them to say no? And then figure out how to avoid doing that or improve on that the next time.
mm,
And so it's either you win or you learn. There's no losing.
mm. That's so good. That's really good. I mean, I love it. Accountability. It's so, yeah. I think it's overseen, but to own, if there's a no on the other side, you can also look at what you did. Like, what was your action for it to be a no? Because maybe to redo it, I mean, not to live in the past, but you might have maybe said something or maybe too pushy or too arrogant or something that made them say no, and you might have to work on yourself or on your
Yeah.
delivery.
And even if the reason they said no was completely on them, whatever, they're stupid, this, that, whatever, that doesn't benefit you in any way.
Mm,
You understand? Like, okay, and now what am I like? What do I do with this information?
yeah.
So the best way of seeing it is what did I do that I can improve moving forward? Because that's the only thing that you really care about.
Mm. Alex, what's one lesson your job as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a leader is teaching you just over and over again? Something that you like, you think you solved it, you think you've outgrown it, but it just comes back, if any.
Um, to be humble, because it's true. It's like it's like, but you think as you grow, there are certain moments where you think you're on top of the world and where you think like, oh, I have it all figured out. I'm this amazing, doing all these things, and then you just as quickly realize that like you're missing this to be at the next step, and there's always a next step. So
Mm,
you're always a work in progress regardless. And so there's no thinking you're the best of the world. There's like that doesn't help you, and business will very quickly tell you to your face like, no, that's not how it is.
mm,
So learning and growing is, and this happens, the reason I'm saying that it's a lesson is that it happens to me. There's some days that I feel like I'm on top of the world and that I'm doing all these amazing things, and then there are other days where just as easily one of the owners is upset or this thing happens or this happens, and I'm finding myself being like, oh my god, like, is this a house of cards? Like, do I really have this business that I'm thinking of, or is it just all like an illusion that I'm creating for myself? And so it's important to like just
mm.
keep improving and keep being better as the time goes by, but doesn't mean you're better or you're not better.
Oh man, that's super. The being humble when you start to really taste the success of financial freedom, of purpose, of like your the status as well. I have a question for you. Do you have any practical way of practicing to be humble? Because I think I'm sometimes I can come out maybe as someone who's could work on being humble, but um, so yeah, that this might be a selfish question, but Do you have any way of practicing to be humble? Like, how does that even work?
Um, I think the best way to practice being humble, I think, is questioning yourself.
Mm,
Like, and honestly questioning yourself. It's hard. It's like every decision that I take, I question, like, is this coming from a place of ego? Is this
mm,
the right decision for the company? Is this a good decision on the long term? And like when good things happen, I try to appreciate them, but not let them affect me personally. The same way that when bad things happen, I can take it for what it is and not let it affect me personally, because then it'll be like an up and down. So it's kind of just like taking it day by day and wanting to improve and wanting to learn. But
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I'll
it's
take
just really like being aware of it.
being aware of it. Yeah. It seems like you're very intentional with like everything in your life, you know, in terms of the action you're having, the conversation, the actions, the way you go about your day seems very intentional. And yeah, I think I admire that a lot, actually. I don't think I do admire that a lot. Can you, we're coming up to the end here, Alex, and I want to know a little more about a recent failure or mistake that taught you something very important. If you have any, it can be like yesterday or a few months ago, but failure or mistake that really impacted you. Like, okay, this is powerful.
Mm. Ooh, yeah, I have one. Um, I was interviewing somebody for to be my personal assistant, and while interviewing this person, I was explaining the different roles of the partners in the company. Um, and one of the partners, I explained her role in in a way that it's okay for me to talk about it with her and with my other partner in that sense, like very um, informal with them, because we know each other and because we have the relationship and because we are confident in what each of us bring in terms of value to the company. But I spoke about my partner to this stranger in a way that was not in the best light. The example that I used was not in the best light, and then
Hmm.
my partner got very upset, and then I really had to think about it.
How did your partner knew about it from?
So basically, when I'll say the story more transparently,
If you want.
because the resolution at the end was the most important part of the story. So,
Okay.
one of my business partners is less risk averse. She's more risk averse than I am, and she's very structured, rigorous, process oriented, and for her, it's extremely important that the company, the base of the company, be super well oiled machine so that when we scale, that it doesn't crumble.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm the other way. Whereas I'm looking forward and I'm running at 100 miles an hour for the growth of the company. And I tend to not look back as much, um, which can also have like a negative impact. And so when I was explaining this to this person I was hiring for, that I was interviewing for my personal assistant, I explained it in a way that I said, Melinda is very risk averse. And if she was the one leading the company, we would be managing much less houses than what we do now. But that way of explaining it is a horrible example to illustrate the value that my partner brings.
Yeah.
And that is speaking of her in a negative voice when
Mm-hmm.
that is not the intention behind what I wanted to say. And I had just never really thought of it in depth. And so then this person, I asked my partner to cross interview her to make, because she knows me so well, to interview her as well and to see if she thinks that she would be a good fit for me as my personal assistant. And then when she was talking about it in the interview, this person said, like, yeah, when Alex was describing the roles, he said that if you were leading the company, that you'd be at like half the growth of where you are now. That is a horrible thing to hear.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel so
Mm.
undervalued. And I 100% understand that. And so I had to reflect on, first of all, why I said it like that, how I said it, what was I thinking when I said that. And I really thought about it. And now I explain it in a much different way, because the value my partner has for the company is indescribable. I would not be able to do it without her. And the growth of the company is thanks to her as well as thanks to us. Like, she's never holding the company back.
Yeah.
She is, her vision is to stabilize the base to make sure we can grow to where we want to grow. And I just didn't explain that properly. And I maybe had not even understood that I needed to be more cognizant of how to explain that to somebody else. And so that was a mistake, a huge mistake that I made a few months back, um, that I since rectified with my partner, and we spoke about it. And I apologized and let her know that, like, the value she has, I have no words for it, and that I need to do a better job of explaining to people just what the value that she brings is. And so that was kind of that situation.
So basically, the way I'm hearing it is to kind of choose your words wisely and not and I don't want to say like talk shit, but to when you're speaking about your partners, to make sure that you know that they have your back and vice versa. And everyone is elevating each other versus because that can kind of create, oh well, if it was me I'll be here, but she's like you said, it can kind of create this yeah, bit of friction. And did that person got hired, by the way?
No. No, because that, for me, that was not viable to have somebody that did not have the situational awareness to not mention something
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like,
For
regardless
sure.
of
Yeah.
if I was right or wrong and all this, like, I can't have somebody that would, in her mind, was like okay saying that in a conversation. Um,
Yeah.
that was too big of a risk for me.
Mm. So Alex, I have two more questions for you. I wanted to ask you two more questions. The last one is kind of a very short answer, but uh, so as we went through this journey, and from the person you were before to the person you are now, what is calling Alex today? What is taking you? What is making you? You mentioned you were starting a new business, but what is exciting you today, and what is calling you now?
Um, what is calling me now is to, I like to add as much value as I can to local luxury. So, and to the people that I work with. And so what we're doing now is, I had the question in my mind, seeing as we're boutique and we're niche, that means there's a certain amount of income that comes in and therefore a certain amount of budget for now. So how do I get the best people? How do I work with the best people so that local luxury has the most added value as possible without necessarily paying them because it's not financially viable? So what I've decided to move forward with is creating companies with the best people in the region where they can bring their expertise, we can bring our expertise, and together we create this thing that then we can help them achieve their financial objectives, but they can also have that added value for local luxury. And so it's kind of that's kind of what we've been doing recently, and I find that incredibly interesting on like how to create these kind of like network of companies that feed into each other and that help each other, and how to structure it, how to find the right people. Um, it's kind of like a very interesting puzzle, and that's what's calling me right now.
Wow. So it seems like you're building a whole ecosystem around local luxury that can, yeah, that can add value to local luxury, but also from them doing business with you and vice versa, they're growing their business and also creating opportunity for them to start entrepreneurship and to build jobs. So yeah, I think I would love to pick your brain a little more on that when I when I see you in Montreal this summer. Uh,
Perfect.
Alex, let's close it off with this question. Spun like just the first thing that comes up in your mind if you had the opportunity to put a billboard, let's say like on in Times Square, that would have either one word or like a really small sentences for everyone to see, kind of your message, what would that be?
That's a good question. I've never thought of.
You can think about it. Take
Yeah, well, for me,
take
it's
time.
quite simple, but I kind of feel like I'm copying a brand that already exists, but it's how I
Doesn't
feel.
matter.
It's do it, period.
Yeah.
For me, it's everything is around action. So whatever you're thinking of doing, whatever you're hesitating, whatever, do it. Just do it.
Incredible. That was such a great conversation. So much value, guys. This was first of all our first podcast for the International Souls.
Nice.
Alex is our first guest here, and I very Alex is a great human, as you saw, as you just heard in terms of I think the introspection that you bring to your life and your mission, your purpose, and constantly evolving, growing, but also having a mirror. And I feel like you have a mirror in front of you, and you're putting yourself on check every day. Just that conversation, you like just that aspect about being aware of what you said about Melinda and taking, thinking about how you can avoid those situations. Um, yeah, I really appreciate this conversation.
Likewise.
Yeah, super powerful. I'm excited to see you this summer. And before we leave, Alex has, I mean, Alex and Nico, I absolutely love their brand. I saw firsthand the villas. We had dinners and then we had maybe a few like parties get together. Can you maybe share for those who are interested in going to Tulum and experiencing the local luxury experience? And the whole approach and your hospitality, which is very unique and a full package. Can you share a bit more where we can find you? Your maybe the social media, the website.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you for that. I just wanted to let you know that I appreciate, I'm very grateful and blessed and honored to be the first on what I'm sure is going to be an amazing podcast moving forward with lots of great guests and insightful
Thank you, brother.
topics and a lot of value. Um, as for local luxury, you can find us at local luxury on Instagram or
Okay,
www.loco.luxury. No .com. We don't need it. Um,
don't need it.
and very soon you'll be able to find, so for groups of 14 people and above, local luxury. And then for everything else, you'll be able to find us at Zuna, Zuna Stays on Instagram. That is our newest company. It is our sister company that will be hosting people in all of the nicest villas in Tulum that are not in the small specific niche that local luxury has.
Incredible. So, guys, you have it here. We're gonna share the link here on on this page, on this episode, to where to find Alex. Alex, thank you, man. Let's uh,
Thank you.
let's celebrate life this summer together. It was great.
Yeah, I'll see you in a few weeks at the first retreat.
Yes,
Excited for it.
Crystal's retreat happening. Yeah, June 6th to June 8th. Alex gonna be there. Yeah, we'll share a bit more about that on the next episode. So thank you, brother. If you enjoyed the episode, don't forget to follow the show and leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps us to grow and keep the conversation going. Thanks for listening.